What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my betting breakdown video for UFC Vegas 30. We have Cyril Gane going against Alexander Volkov in a card that I think there's a ton of great spots. This is going to be a card that I have a ton of action on, so sit back, relax, because I have a ton to talk about for this video. So, before we get started, if you can leave a like on the video, it would be much appreciated. Also, subscribe to the channel if you have not yet, so you do not miss out on content throughout the week. Going to be getting out some UFC 264 content early next week, so I know we have a week off, but still stay tuned because I will be posting out some early content, some early breakdown videos. So with all that out of the way, we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about each fight from a betting perspective and a betting perspective only. As always, if you do want a further in-depth breakdown on why I'm picking which fighter, on why I'm betting which bet, I did post a full card breakdown and prediction video on Tuesday morning, and then I'm also doing a live stream on Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, so if you have not seen that, go back and watch it. Lots of good stuff in there. So, other than that, live stream 12 o'clock p.m. Before the card tomorrow, 1 hour prior to the prelims. Going to be giving my final thoughts, maybe last minute bet or two, and just chat it up with you guys before the card starts. So, I say we get into it. Starting with the first fight of the night, we have Damir Hadovich going against the Anti-Maderos, and yeah, so I did bet the under 2.5 in this fight the last time it was booked. I believe I bet it at plus 130 or plus 140. And now I got it at plus 145, so a bit of a better price. And I'm going right back to it here. I think there's a good chance that this fight finishes, or at least a better chance than the line indicates. Because you take a look at Damir Hadovich, 77% finish rate, has finished over 50% of his wins by knockout. Same thing with Maderos, 80% finish rate, has finished over 50% of his wins by knockout. And we have seen Maderos be knocked out, more than once, more than twice, 3 times. To be specific there. We've seen him dropped a lot as well. I don't think Maderos has the best chin. I don't think Maderos has the best striking defense as well. And I think Damir's very live for a knockout. On the flip side, I can see Maderos live for a knockout as well. He can crack himself. And also, if Maderos is able to get this fight down to the mat, which I highly recommend, I think he's very live for a submission as well. So I don't expect Maderos to go to that ground game because he's only landed 1 takedown this far in the UFC. But you got to take a look at Damir. He has like a 39% takedown defense. You got to think that Maderos maybe comes in here and goes for takedowns. If he does that, I think he's very live to win. It's just something we haven't seen. So the pick for me is Damir Hadovich. I do have 1 unit on the under 2.5 at plus 145. A lot of money's coming in on that play. A very popular play this week. I think we see it like minus 110 right now, plus 100. At that point, I probably wouldn't touch it, but plus money on it to go inside the distance. I think it's a solid look. Both guys finishers. Both guys can be finished, but the pick will be Hadovich. And as far as like the knockout prop for Hadovich, plus 270 on FanDuel Sportsbook earlier in the week. I don't know if it's still there, but it was plus 500. I was very tempted on that, but ultimately I took a shot on that under 2.5. But I will take Hadovich as far as the pick goes. Next, we have Charles Rosa versus Justin James, and it's going to be kind of a theme for this card. I think there's going to be a lot of violence. Like, honestly, you can make a case for just about every fight finishing on this card. I think I'm picking like 7 or 8 finishes on this card out of or 13 fights. So picking a lot of finishes here. And this is another one that I think finishes. So on this fight, I do have the fight doesn't go to decision, minus 132. I have 1.25 units on it. And the reason I did the fight doesn't go to decision rather than the under 2.5 is because I kind of want that extra 2.5 minutes in this fight because James, he does not have the best gas tank at all. He does slow down after that first round. We'll take a look at the finish rates again for this fight. Charles Rosa, 88% finish rate. 88%, just about 90% finish rate for Rosa, so he's more than a capable finisher. Justin James, 81% finish rate. And out of Justin James' wins, I think it's 12 or 13 wins in that first round. So it's safe to say if Justin James wins, it's probably in that first round. We have seen Rosa knocked out before. I don't think Rosa's chinny or anything like that. I think is very tough. It's just James is going to come forward trying to land a bomb. Maybe he does land it, maybe he does not. But if James does not get that first round knockout, I do see Rosa taking over. I think Rosa, in an interview, projected a first round knockout, which you don't really want to hear from that side, but I do think this fight finishes one way or another. Whether James does get this out in the first round by knockout, or Rosa does survive that first round, starts to take over, maybe makes in some takedowns, and get a second or third round submission. So I do like the fight doesn't go to decision. The under's fine, but like I said, I do want those extra 2.5 minutes. And for Justin James fights, he hasn't been to decision yet in the UFC. He's been finished in the first round, I believe the second round, and the third round as well. And his one UFC win was in that first round against Frank Camacho by knockout. So with playing the fight doesn't go to decision, I also took a shot on Justin James by first round knockout. Quarter unit on it, little small sprinkle at plus 900. I think that line's so off because if he wins, it's probably in the first round, maybe second round. But yeah, plus 900, that's like a 10% indication there. I think it's a lot more up there towards his money line, honestly. That's how he wins, a first round knockout. I don't really see any other way, maybe like a second round knockout, but even then, I don't think he has the gas tank to go later into the fight. So as far as a pick goes, I'll go with Charles Rosa, but I do think this fight finishes one way or another, and another fight where I'm looking violence again. Next, we have Julia Avila going against Julia Stoliarenko. Another fight where I kind of look at violence here. The only thing is, usually we get these women's MMA unders at like plus 200, plus 250. The odds makers are all over it. The fight doesn't go decision, only plus 105. At that point, really not much interest in there, but I do think this fight finishes. You have Stoliarenko, 90% finish rate. All of her wins come by submission, and all of her wins come by armbar. So it's safe to say if Stoliarenko wins, it's probably by armbar. And if Avila wins, I can see a knockout. Avila hits very hard, and we have seen Stoliarenko knocked out in half her losses 2 times. And I do think Avila is going to have a really significant advantage on the feet. So I think the Avila knockout prop is live, which is plus 250. On FanDuel Sportsbook, I saw it at like plus 360. I ended up passing there, but I was really looking hard at the under. I think it was like plus 150 early in the week. I decided to pass, and now where it's at, plus 120, plus 125. I don't really want to get there, but I would not be shocked at all if this fight did finish. I would not recommend parlaying Avila at minus 400, but I do think she wins. I do think she gets it done, and I do think she gets it done inside the distance, but on that fight, no bet for me. All right, I have another bet here. And it's another violence bet. What do you know it? Marcin Prachnio going against Ike Villanueva. And the bet I have here is the fight will not start round 3, plus 102, and I have 1 unit on that. And it also took a little sprinkle, 0.25 units on Ike Villanueva by knockout. So Marcin Prachnio took Roundtree to decision in his last fight, but a lot of people expected Roundtree to go out there and knock him out in the first round. I think it was Roundtree wins by round one knockout was like plus 100, minus 110, minus 120. And, Prachnio won by decision, which personally, that was like the least likely scenario I thought in the entire fight, and he did it. But I'm going back to violence here. You take a look at the fight doesn't go to decision, which is minus 180. Honestly, in hindsight, that might look like a complete steal here in 2 guys that are more than capable finishers. Ike Villanueva, 83% finish rate. Prachnio, 78% finish rate. Both guys have a lot of power. Both guys can be finished. Prachnio, 4 knockout losses, 3 of them in the first round. Ike Villanueva, 10 finish losses, 5 by knockout, 5 by submission. I think both guys are capable finishers. I think both guys are capable of getting finished, and I do see this fight ending. So some things I do want to point out is in every single one of their finishes, they've all came in the first round except one. Ike Villanueva did get a second round finish. So I do think if there's a finish, it's going to be early. Honestly, I don't hate the under 1.5, but I took the fight does not start round 3 to get that extra half round just in case. I think Villanueva is going to come forward. I think he's going to knock out Prachnio. But on the flip side, I would not be shocked if Villanueva did slow down and Prachnio caught him himself. So the pick is going to be Ike Villanueva for the upset. I have a little bet on him by knockout, but ultimately I need this fight to finish before round 3 starts. I like the under 2.5. I like the fight doesn't go to decision. I'd be kind of shocked if this fight went the distance, to be honest. Ike Villanueva has not been to decision in a long, long time. So the pick's Villanueva. I do think it finishes well. And again, looking at violence. All right, next fight we have Warlley Alves going against Jeremiah Wells. Again, another violence bet. I have the fight doesn't go to decision, minus 140, 1.5 units on it. Really had to jump on that line early, and the line is like minus 215 right now, which still, it's not terrible because Warlley Alves is going to be a significant step up in competition for Jeremiah Wells. Alves is somebody that wants to start very, very fast. We saw in his last fight, went out there against Manir Lazez, finished him in the first couple minutes of that fight. And, I kind of see the same thing here against Jeremiah Wells, who, don't get me wrong, I really like this guy. I like his skill set. But the thing is, he's coming in on short notice. He has not fought in 2 years. A big step up in competition. He's fought nobody near the level of competition of a Warlley Alves. So I do expect Warlley Alves to roll here, probably in that first round. But the thing is, and why I do like this fight doesn't go to decision, is if Alves does not get that first round finish, we have seen him slow down in the past. We have seen him slow down massively. And I think Wells is somebody that, has a ton of power. He is a BJJ black belt himself. I think if Alves does not get that first round, I think that Wells can very well get a finish himself. So I think the fight doesn't go to decision, covers both sides. I like the alternative under 2.5 as well. Under 1.5, a little bit iffy about it, but I do expect Warlley Alves to win, and I expect him to win probably in round 1. So another violence bet there. I do like the fight doesn't go to decision. All right, Shavkat Rakhmonov going against Michel Prazeres, and I don't have a violence bet here. I have Shavkat Rakhmonov. I have 2 units on him, minus 182, and the line has absolutely skyrocketed. So I got this bet a couple weeks ago. I saw the minus 182. I was thinking about going a little bit heavier. Wasn't going to max bet it or anything like that. But now that it's minus 300, I'd probably stay away because Michel Prazeres, he's a very good fighter. He's a very good fighter with a very good record. The problem is 10-inch reach disadvantage, 13-year age gap, like a 7 or 8-inch height disadvantage. I saw him at the weigh-ins. Huge difference. Coming off of a massive layoff, coming off of a PED suspension, coming off of a surgery. There's just so many things going against Brazeris. But I do think the first round could be a little bit iffy. It's just the cardio of Brazeris, especially at this point, is just not that good. The size difference, I think, is going to be huge as well. And I do like Rachmanov to get it done. But again, the minus 305, honestly, that's getting a little bit disrespectful here. But I do think he wins. I'm glad to get in on that early. But I do like Rachmanov to probably get the finish. I'm going to say like a third round finish for Rachmanov, but I would not be shocked if this did go the distance because Brazeris, very tough, has never been finished in nearly 30 fights. But ultimately, I will take Rachmanov to win by third round finish. No violence bet here. I just have Rachmanov straight. And no parlays for me this week. But if I was to do a parlay, he'd probably be in it. But again, no parlays for me. So Rachmanov for the win. Probably a late finish for him. Hi, Honey Barcelos going against Damir Valiev. Yeah, I'm picking Barcelos. I was kind of hoping the line would come down a little bit. I saw a lot of love for Valiev, but it looks like the line's staying about right where it is. Minus 220. I'm going to pass here. I think he wins. But I think it's going to be a very competitive fight. I think it's the best fight on the card. And I'm going to take Barcelos to win by decision. Really no props I'd look at. Like Barcelos by decision, plus 125. It's not terrible. It's not terrible, but I also can see him possibly getting a finish. So Trevin Jones was able to finish Valiev. Maybe Barcelos could as well, but I'm more towards leading that decision. No bet here for me. I was maybe thinking about parlaying Barcelos, but I ultimately ended up passing. But I will pick him to win, though. So give me Barcelos for the win in what should be mostly a competitive fight. All right, so moving up and more violence. Renato Mikano going against Herbert, a play that seems to have a lot of people on it. And I do have the under 2.5 rounds, minus 125, 1.25 units on it. I think the under's now at like minus 150, minus 145, which still, I think that's pretty solid. I guess the big thing I want to point out here is neither guy's ever lost by decision. I think it's like a total of, I want to say like 40 fights, something like that, where neither guy has ever lost by decision. And both guys very capable finishers as well. Herbert, a 90% finish rate, 80% by knockout. Moicano, a 50% finish rate, finishing half of his wins by submission. And I like Moicano here. I like him quite a bit. It's just the chin does give me a little bit of pause on that minus 230. But Moicano has been knocked out 3 times. He's been submitted once. I think Herbert's very live for a knockout. But I also think that Moicano, if he does go to the wrestling, is grappling very early. I can see a first-round submission for Moicano. So I see this fight finishing one way or another. I see it finishing very early. I love the under 2.5. Even like the under 1.5 kind of is tempting as well. But I do like that extra round there. So minus 125, 1.25 units on it. Give me some more violence. All right, next we have Tim Means going against Nicholas Dalby. We have Tim Means minus 130, Dalby plus 110. And yeah, the line was really coming down. I was going to kind of wait. I thought there might be a potential line flip. Lots of love on Dalby this week. I saw Means go down to like minus 123. Ended up coming back up, and that's where I took my shot at Tim Means minus 131. And I do have 1.25 units on it. I don't know. I mean, I just think that Means is the better fighter here by a decent margin. You know, Dalby, like, how does he win this fight? Is he going to wrestle Tim Means? I don't know. Dalby has 1 takedown in his last 5 fights. Is he going to knock out Tim Means? I don't know. I just don't see it. So Means, I do think he's going to out-volume Dalby. You know, Dalby got very lucky in his last fight against Daniel Rodriguez when he got outlanded in every single round. And still, you know, watching it back till this day, I just don't see how any judge can score that fight for Dalby. And a judge even gave that fight to Dalby like a 30-27 for Dalby, which makes absolutely no sense. But unless Dalby weasels his way to another win, I think Means is going to outland him. I think Means could potentially hurt him. Dalby's been dropped a ton in the UFC. Dalby has never been knocked out, but he has been dropped a ton. Means has been knocked out twice. So unless Dalby catches him, which I don't think Dalby has a finish in the UFC, only a 53% finish rate. And Tim Means, yes, his durability is going away a little bit. He is 37, but Dalby's 36, and he's always had, you know, kind of a little bit of durability issues, at least with getting dropped, but he is very tough. So I like Tim Means. I like him by decision. Tim Means by decision plus 160, not really good enough for me, but I do like him straight here. You know, I think he's going to outland Dalby for sure. It's just hopefully the judges don't, you know, give Dalby another one here. I think Tim Means does get it done. Andre Fili going against Daniel Pineda, and kind of reminds me exactly like the Justin James fight because Pineda fights the exact same way. He goes out there, tries to get the early finish. Out of his, I forget how much wins he has, but I can double check. So out of Pineda's 27 wins, I think he has like 19 19 first-round finishes for Pineda. He's somebody that gets in, gets out, and I think he's very alive for a first-round finish here. Feely has been knocked out twice, submitted twice as well. Pineda, very good black belt, 100% finish rate. In 41 fights, I think, of Pineda, he has never, ever, ever, ever won by decision. When he does win, it is inside the distance. So I did kind of the same here. I did have the under 2.5 rounds, or like the fight doesn't go to decision, I think is good as well. I got the under 2.5 rounds at plus 120. I have 1 unit on that. Looks like that seems to be a pretty popular play, and it probably should be because Pineda's fighting style, he is a killer be killed fighter. He's been knocked out 3 times. He's been submitted 6 times. I think if he does not get that early finish, I think he's going to slow down. I think Feely does finish him himself. But yeah, should be a really fun fight. I'm looking violence here again. And I also did sprinkle 0.25 units on the first round prop for Daniel Pineda, which was at plus 900. And like I just mentioned, Pineda has like 19 first round finishes. So it's safe to say if Pineda does win, it's inside the distance, and it's probably in that first round. So I took a little shot on the plus 900 first round prop for Daniel Pineda. Even like the Pineda inside the distance, plus 4 or 5, that makes no sense because he has a 100% finish rate. You don't think I'd be shocked if he won a decision, finally. But I think that fight, or him winning inside the distance, should be more correlated towards his money line. So I'm picking Feely, but it was really hard to pass up the value on that plus 900 prop on Pineda to win in first round. But either way, I want somebody to get finished here. It can be Pineda early, it can even be Feely early, or it can be Feely late, which that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. But I do think there's violence in this fight as well. All right, next fight, I do have a straight bet. I have Kennedy and Zekachu. I got him at plus 110 about a week and a half ago. The line ever since then flipped. I wasn't expecting this line to get too wide because I do know there's a lot of love for Marquez, but Zekachu is minus 130 now. Solid value there still, I think. He's very good takedown defense, 78%. He has been taken down, but what I really like about this guy is he's hard to take down, and he's very, very, very hard to hold down as well. His get-up game is phenomenal. The only thing I don't like is he does give his back when he stands up, but the guy's a huge guy. It's going to be very hard to get him down and hold him down as well. On the feet, you favor Zekachu by a mile. You favor the output. You favor the cardio by a mile as well. Marquez's path to victory is probably an early first-round submission. He just doesn't have the cardio, and I think it's going to be really taxing on his cardio when he goes to get a takedown, and Kennedy does stuff it. But again, very low-level fight. 2 guys that I'm not very high on. But, Kennedy is making a lot of improvements at Fortis MMA. He's getting better and better and better, and I do think this is a very winnable matchup for him. But again, hard to trust these guys, but I do have 1 unit on Kennedy. Plus 110. I really do like that underdog shot. Not sure I'd bet him as a favorite here at minus 130, but I do think he does get the job done. Next, we have Ovince St. Preux going against Tanner Boser. Yeah, I was very tempted on the fight doesn't go to decision or the under. At this point, I'm just going to pass. Boser, not much of a finisher at all, 64% finish rate. The majority of his fights do go to decision. St. Preux has fought at heavyweight before. His last heavyweight fight was against Ben Rothwell, where he was able to take Rothwell's shots. So if he can take Rothwell's shots, he probably takes Boser's. I'm going to take Boser to win by decision just by being faster, throwing a lot more output. Maybe there's a finish in this fight, but I'm leaning towards Boser by decision, which is plus 160, but I want absolutely nothing to do with this fight. Boser, he arguably won his last 2 fights, and the judges hate him for some reason. So I could see Boser outlanding St. Preux by a decent margin every single round, and the judges somehow giving it to OSP. Would not be shocked at this point. The judges really don't like this guy, but in all seriousness, Boser probably should get it done and probably should get it done by decision. Don't know if I touch the fight doesn't get a decision prop there. All right, main event here. Before we get into it, if you guys can leave a like on the video, just to remind you guys, I'm going live 1 hour prior to the prelims tomorrow. But yeah, just want to make sure I caught up on all the bets here. A ton of bets. I think I have like 14 bets on this card, and I'm going to have 2 more in this main event as well. So, getting into the main event, the first bet I do have is going to be Alexander Volkov plus 152. And then I also have the fight goes to decision at plus 100. So the best case scenario is Alexander Volkov comes out here and he wins a decision. Win both bets. The next best case scenario would be Alexander Volkov getting a knockout. I'd win half a unit. The next best scenario wouldn't be a good scenario, but Cyril Gane wins and he wins by decision. Then I'd break even. The worst case scenario would be Cyril Gane comes out here and knocks out Volkov sometime in the fight. I think the more likely scenario is either that Volkov decision or the Volkov knockout. Even like the Gane decision I can see as well. But again, very, very close fight here. I'll take plus 152 all day on Volkov. I think it's going to be very competitive. I think it's going to be Gane's toughest test by a mile. I also did a main event breakdown with Uncle Weezy on Monday. If you guys have not seen that, check it out. We go way more into detail, but just to sum it up, the level of competition is just a huge gap there. I do think Gane's going to have, the speed advantage by a decent margin. I think he's going to be able to stick and move, but man, Volkov, he's been looking so good lately. He's been coming forward. Looks like he has a lot more pop on his shots. A lot of people won't agree with this, but I do think the harder hitter is Volkov in this matchup. And maybe Volkov could knock him out, but I'm taking Volkov to win by decision. I do have the fight goes to decision as well, plus 100, 1 unit on it. And yeah, it's going to be a close fight. It's going to be a very close fight. I'm already prepared for the comments if Gane does win like a split decision. The I told you so comments, but it's going to be a close fight. I would not be shocked at all if Gane won. I think Gane's phenomenal, very high on the guy myself, but just the minus 180, minus 190 Gane earlier in the week just made no sense. You do see coming down now, Volkov plus 120. I do expect it to close even more as the fight goes on. I do think they should be lined to pick him, and at that point, I'll take that plus 152 all day. So I would not be shocked, again, if Gane wins a decision. I'd be kind of shocked if he finished Volkov, but I would not be shocked if Gane won a decision. But I do think, Volkov with the experience, with how good he's been looking, he looked like a monster at the weigh-ins today as well. The harder shots coming forward. Should be a fun fight, should be competitive, and I will take Volkov for the win. I know a ton of people disagree with me on that one, but we'll definitely see how it goes. So just to recap, and like I said, I have a ton of action. 4 straight bets: Alexander Volkov 1 unit plus 152, Kennedy and Zekachu plus 110 1 unit, Shavkat Rakhmonov minus 182 2 units, Tim Means minus 131 1.25 units, Andre Fili versus Daniel Pineda under 2.5 rounds plus 120 1 unit, Anti-Maderos versus Damir Hadovich under 2.5 rounds plus 145 1 unit, Alexander Volkov versus Gane fight goes to decision plus 100 1 unit, Mikano Herbert under 2.5 rounds minus 125 1.25 units, Alves Wells fight does not go to decision minus 140 1.5 units, Prachnio Villanueva. Villanueva wins by knockout 0.25 units plus 300. Charles Rosa versus Justin James. James wins by first round knockout plus 900 quarter unit on that. Pineda wins in round 1 plus 900 quarter unit on that. Justin James versus Charles Rosa fight does not go to decision minus 132 1.25 units. And then Prachnio versus Ike Villanueva fight does not start round 3. My goodness, tons of action, tons of violence. If it's a violent night, it'll be a very good night. If every fight goes to decision, it'll be a pretty bad night. But I think there's violence, man. I think there's a lot of violence opportunities. If I do add anything, which I'd be kind of shocked if I did, you can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers. Instagram is DFS by the numbers. Also, if you have any questions, my DMs are always open, but I will be posting my bets on there as well. And again, thanks for watching. Tune into the live stream 1 hour prior to the prelims. And again, thank you always for your support. You guys are the best. Leave a like on the video on your way out if you can, and subscribe so you don't miss out on the other content. Like I said, early content for UFC 264 coming next week. Going to break down a couple matchups, planning on breaking down the main event, and then also probably the co-main event as well, the Burns-Thompson, and of course the McGregor and Poirier. So that's been it, guys, and good luck for UFC Vegas 30. Let's make some money.